A black bride walked into a boutique, hoping to buy her dream wedding dress, but faced cruel racism instead. Left heartbroken and humiliated, she thought her special day was ruined. Then, an unexpected group of strangers took a stand, coming together to give her the surprise of a lifetime that changed everything. The soft chime of the boutique doorbell filled the air as Jasmine Carter stepped inside, her heart pounding with excitement. It was supposed to be a magical day, the day she would finally find her dream wedding dress. Jasmine, a 28-year-old teacher from Georgia, had been dreaming of this moment ever since her fiancé, Marcus, proposed to her beneath the blooming magnolias at her grandmother's house. As Jasmine looked around the elegant boutique, her eyes sparkled. Rows of delicate lace, shimmering satin, and perfectly tailored gowns surrounded her. And for a moment, she allowed herself to imagine the aisle, the flowers, the gasps of her loved ones as they saw her in the perfect dress. Her fingers grazed a gown with intricate embroidery, and she thought, this could be the one. But before she could savor the moment, a voice broke through her reverie. "Can I help you?" The tone was sharp, not the warm greeting Jasmine had expected. She turned to see a saleswoman standing by the counter, arms crossed, her eyes coldly scanning Jasmine from head to toe. Jasmine felt a pang of discomfort, but she smiled politely. "Yes, I'm looking for a wedding dress," she said softly, her excitement tempered by the woman's demeanor. The saleswoman raised an eyebrow. "Our dresses are very exclusive and expensive," she replied, her words dripping with condescension. Jasmine froze. Her pulse quickened, and her cheeks flushed with humiliation. The room that had once felt magical now felt suffocating. She steadied herself. "I understand," Jasmine said, forcing her voice to remain calm. "I'd like to try a few on if that's okay." The saleswoman sighed audibly, taking a long, deliberate moment before responding. "We don't carry many sizes for women like you," she said, her eyes narrowing. The words hung in the air like a slap, sharp and cutting. Jasmine blinked, unsure if she had heard correctly. "Excuse me?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "I'm just saying," the woman continued, her tone unapologetic. "Our gowns are designed for a certain look, and, well, I'm not sure we have anything that would suit your figure." The insinuation was clear, and Jasmine felt her throat tighten. It wasn't just about her body, it was about who she was, how she looked, and what she represented. The weight of the moment pressed down on her, each word from the saleswoman pulling her deeper into a pit of shame and anger. Tears threatened to spill as Jasmine glanced around the room, realizing she was the only black woman there. Every glance, every smirk from the other customers seemed magnified, her humiliation on full display. "I'll just look around myself," Jasmine managed to say, her voice cracking. But as she reached for a nearby dress, the saleswoman stepped forward, blocking her path. "Actually," she said, her smile tight and insincere, "I think it's best if you leave. We have other clients who might need assistance, and I don't think this is the right store for you." Jasmine stood frozen, the words cutting deeper than she ever thought possible. She wanted to say something, to fight back, but her voice felt trapped in her throat. Finally, with trembling hands, she turned and walked out of the boutique, the chime of the doorbell now sounding cold and hollow. Outside, Jasmine leaned against the brick wall, her tears flowing freely. She had never felt so small, so unseen, so unwelcome. She pulled out her phone to call Marcus, her fiancé, but hesitated. How could she even explain what had just happened? For Jasmine, this was supposed to be one of the happiest days of her life. Instead, it was a brutal reminder of the prejudice she still faced, a cruel shadow cast over what should have been a bright moment. As she wiped her tears, Jasmine resolved to keep moving forward. But in that moment, she couldn't imagine how her shattered spirit could ever be mended, or how strangers she had never met would soon change her life in ways she couldn't yet fathom. The evening light streamed through the windows of Jasmine's small apartment, casting long shadows on the walls. She sat curled up on her couch, staring blankly at her phone. The day's events played on a relentless loop in her mind. The sharp words, the cold stares, and the humiliation that clung to her like a heavy fog. Marcus had texted her earlier, asking how the dress shopping went, but Jasmine couldn't bring herself to reply. What could she say? That her excitement had been crushed by racism and cruelty? That she didn't even feel like a bride anymore? Her phone buzzed again, and she glanced at the screen. It was a call this time. Marcus. She hesitated, then swiped to answer. "Hey, babe," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Hey, beautiful," Marcus replied, his warm tone a balm to her wounded heart. "How'd it go? Did you find the dress?" Jasmine's throat tightened. "Not exactly," she said, forcing a small laugh to mask the pain. "What happened?" Marcus asked, his voice immediately laced with concern. For a moment, Jasmine thought about brushing it off, but the weight of her emotions spilled over. "It was awful, Marcus," she said, her voice breaking. "I went to this boutique and the saleswoman, she treated me like I didn't even belong there. She said the dresses weren't for someone like me." Marcus was silent for a beat. When he spoke, his voice was firm, tinged with anger. "What do you mean, someone like you?" "She was being racist, Marcus," Jasmine said softly. "I could feel it in everything she said, everything she did. It wasn't just about the dresses, it was about me." Marcus exhaled sharply. "I'm so sorry, Jasmine. You didn't deserve that. No one does." "I know," Jasmine said, tears sliding down her cheeks. "But it still hurts. I feel so small. Maybe she's right. Maybe I don't belong in a place like that." "Don't you dare believe that," Marcus said, his voice firm but tender. "You are the most incredible woman I know, Jasmine. That woman was wrong. She's the one who doesn't belong, and you're going to find the perfect dress, even if I have to go out there and sew it myself." Jasmine let out a watery laugh, the corners of her mouth lifting despite her pain. Marcus always had a way of making her feel seen, even in her darkest moments. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too," Marcus said. "And listen, you're not going through this alone. We'll figure this out together." As the call ended, Jasmine felt a small glimmer of hope. But the heaviness in her chest remained. She scrolled through her phone, her fingers hesitating over the contact for her best friend, Tasha. After a moment, she pressed call. "Girl, what's up?" Tasha answered, her voice bright and full of energy. Jasmine hesitated, then poured out the entire story. The excitement, the boutique, the cruel saleswoman, and the shame that still clung to her. Tasha was silent for a moment. "Oh, hell no," she finally said, her voice sharp. "She really said all that to you? Jasmine, I'm so mad I could scream. I just don't know what to do," Jasmine admitted. "I feel like she stole this moment from me." "No, she doesn't get to do that," Tasha said firmly. "You're going to find your dress, Jasmine, and we're going to make sure that this story ends with you looking like the queen you are. That woman doesn't get to win." Tasha's fierce loyalty warmed Jasmine's heart, but the hurt lingered. As the call ended, she felt a strange mix of gratitude and sorrow. She had people who loved her, who believed in her, but the sting of the boutique's rejection remained. Little did Jasmine know, Tasha was already on a mission. That evening, Tasha posted about the incident on social media, sharing Jasmine's story in vivid detail. The post quickly gained traction, with dozens of people expressing outrage and offering their support. As Jasmine sat in her quiet apartment, the wheels of change were already turning. Strangers she had never met were beginning to rally around her, and an unexpected wave of kindness was about to wash away the pain of that cruel day. The following morning, Jasmine woke to a string of notifications lighting up her phone. Her social media accounts, normally filled with harmless posts from friends and family, were flooded with comments, shares, and direct messages. Confused, she opened her phone and saw Tasha's post at the top of her feed. "Y'all, I have to share what happened to my best friend yesterday," the post began, followed by a raw and emotional retelling of Jasmine's experience. Tasha's words were powerful, laced with righteous anger and heartfelt support for Jasmine. This is 2025, and no black woman should ever feel unwelcome when trying to buy her wedding dress. Let's show Jasmine that love and kindness can drown out hate. The response was overwhelming, People from all walks of life had shared the post, leaving comments of support, encouragement, and outrage at the injustice Jasmine had endured. "This is unacceptable. Jasmine deserves better." "I don't know her, but I'd be honored to help her find her dream dress." "We're with you, Jasmine. Don't let one hateful person dim your light." Some messages even came from local bridal shops offering to help. Jasmine's heart swelled as she scrolled through the comments, tears streaming down her face. She had felt so small and invisible the day before, but now she felt seen, supported in a way she never could have imagined. "Tasha," Jasmine whispered, her voice thick with emotion as she dialed her best friend. "Girl, did you see the post?" Tasha asked, skipping any greeting. "I did," Jasmine said, her voice cracking. I don't even know what to say. People are being so kind." "Of course they are," Tasha said matter-of-factly, "because you deserve it. Now listen, there's something else. A woman named Linda reached out to me last night. She runs a bridal shop a few towns over, and she wants to help. Like really help." Jasmine's brow furrowed. "Help how?" "She said she's pulling together something special for you," Tasha said cryptically. "She wouldn't tell me all the details, but she's serious about making this right. Can you meet her tomorrow?" Jasmine hesitated. The idea of stepping into another bridal shop filled her with a mix of hope and dread. What if it happened again? What if the kindness she was seeing online didn't translate to real life? "Jasmine," Tasha said gently, sensing her hesitation. "You don't have to do this if you're not ready, but I think this could be something good. Something you need." After a long pause, Jasmine took a deep breath. "Okay," she said softly. "I'll meet her." The next afternoon, Jasmine and Tasha drove to the boutique Linda owned. Unlike the imposing, high-end store Jasmine had visited before, this shop felt warm and inviting. The pastel exterior was accented with delicate flower boxes, and the gold lettering on the door read, "Ever After Bridal." Inside, Linda, a middle-aged white woman with kind eyes and a welcoming smile, greeted them at the door. "You must be Jasmine," she said, extending her hand. Jasmine shook it hesitantly. "Thank you for inviting me," she said softly. "It's my honor," Linda replied. "Tasha told me everything, and when I heard what happened, I knew I had to do something." Linda led them to the fitting area, where racks of dresses had been carefully arranged. "These are just a few of the dresses I think you might love," Linda explained. "But before we start, I want to say something. What happened to you wasn't just wrong, it was cruel, and it doesn't represent what this industry should be about. I'm here to make sure you have the experience you deserve." Jasmine felt a lump form in her throat as Linda's words sank in. For the first time in days, she felt the tightness in her chest begin to ease. As Jasmine began trying on dresses, something incredible happened. Linda's boutique had invited local women to join in a show of support for Jasmine. Soon, a group of women began arriving, neighbors, strangers, and even some who had seen Tasha's post online. They carried flowers, handwritten notes, and even small gifts, each one eager to contribute to Jasmine's special moment. "Jasmine," a woman said, stepping forward with a shy smile. "I don't know you, but your story touched my heart. I just wanted to bring you these flowers and let you know that you're not alone." Another woman, an elderly grandmother, placed a small hand-knit shawl into Jasmine's hands. "Every bride needs something special," she said with a wink. Overwhelmed, Jasmine fought back tears as she realized the depth of love and support surrounding her. These strangers, united by compassion, had turned her pain into something beautiful. Jasmine stepped out of the fitting room in a breathtaking lace gown. The delicate train swept the floor, and the bodice hugged her in all the right places. As she caught her reflection in the mirror, her breath hitched. Tasha gasped, "Jasmine, that's the one. You look perfect." Linda stepped forward, tears glistening in her eyes. "You're stunning, Jasmine. That dress was made for you." The room erupted in cheers and applause as Jasmine stood on the platform, her heart full in a way she hadn't thought possible. The pain of her first experience hadn't vanished, but it had been replaced by something stronger: love, resilience, and the power of community. For the first time in days, Jasmine smiled, a real, radiant smile. And in that moment, she felt like a bride again. Jasmine stepped out of the fitting room in a breathtaking lace gown. The delicate train swept the floor, and the bodice hugged her in all the right places. As she caught her reflection in the mirror, her breath hitched. Tasha gasped. "Jasmine, that's the one. You look perfect." Linda stepped forward, tears glistening in her eyes. "You're stunning, Jasmine. That dress was made for you." The room erupted in cheers and applause as Jasmine stood on the platform, her heart full in a way she hadn't thought possible. The pain of her first experience hadn't vanished, but it had been replaced by something stronger: love, resilience, and the power of community. For the first time in days, Jasmine smiled, a real, radiant smile. And in that moment, she felt like a bride again. As the final touches were made to the dress, a few of the women stayed behind to help Jasmine with accessories. A veil trimmed with pearls was gently pinned into her hair, and a pair of elegant satin heels completed the look. When Jasmine stepped back in front of the mirror, she barely recognized herself. She wasn't just wearing a wedding dress. She was glowing. "You look incredible," Tasha whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Thank you," Jasmine said softly, her eyes meeting Tasha's. "I wouldn't be here without you." "Don't thank me," Tasha replied with a grin. "Thank the hundreds of people who made this happen. You've got a whole army of strangers rooting for you now." Outside the boutique, the story was spreading even further. Tasha's post had inspired local news outlets to cover Jasmine's experience, and soon the story was being shared across social media and beyond. Messages poured in from people across the country, offering their own stories of resilience and support. One comment read, "What happened to Jasmine breaks my heart, but the way this community came together gives me hope for the world." Another simply said, "Jasmine, you are beautiful, inside and out. Never let anyone dim your light." Jasmine watched the outpouring of love with awe. She had felt so alone after that first painful encounter, but now she felt surrounded by a world that refused to let hate win. As Jasmine and Tasha prepared to leave, Linda handed her a small, carefully wrapped box. "One more thing," Linda said with a smile. Inside was a delicate gold bracelet, engraved with the words, "You are enough." Jasmine's lips quivered as she fastened the bracelet onto her wrist. "I'll never forget this," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "You don't have to," Linda replied. "And remember, this dress is just the beginning. The real beauty is in what's ahead. For your wedding, your marriage, your life. You've got so much joy coming your way." Jasmine hugged Linda tightly, unable to find the words to express her gratitude. As Jasmine and Tasha drove home that evening, the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of gold and pink. Jasmine held the veil in her lap, her fingers brushing over the delicate lace. "Do you feel ready now?" Tasha asked softly, glancing at Jasmine. Jasmine smiled, her eyes glistening with tears. "I feel more than ready," she said. "I feel whole again." In that moment, Jasmine realized that the dress was more than just fabric and lace. It was a symbol of resilience, a reminder that love and kindness could triumph over even the darkest moments. The day of the wedding dawned crisp and clear, the sky a brilliant shade of blue. Jasmine stood in front of the full-length mirror in her childhood bedroom, taking in her reflection. Her dream dress, the one she thought she'd never find, hugged her figure perfectly. The intricate lace shimmered in the soft light, and the pearl-trimmed veil framed her glowing face. Behind her, Tasha was fastening the last button on the back of the gown. "You look like a goddess," she whispered, stepping back to admire her friend. Jasmine laughed softly, a tear slipping down her cheek. "I didn't think I'd ever feel this way," she admitted. "There were moments I thought the magic of this day was gone forever." Tasha placed a hand on Jasmine's shoulder, her own eyes glistening. "That saleswoman might have tried to dim your light, but look at you now. You're shining brighter than ever, and today the whole world is going to see it." The ceremony was held at Jasmine's grandmother's church, a modest but beautiful space filled with history and love. As the doors swung open and Jasmine stepped inside, all eyes turned to her. There was an audible gasp as she walked down the aisle, her dress flowing like a dream. Marcus, standing at the altar, felt his breath catch. He had always thought Jasmine was beautiful, but today she looked ethereal. His heart swelled with pride and love as she made her way toward him. When Jasmine reached him, Marcus leaned in and whispered, "You take my breath away." Jasmine smiled, her heart full as the pastor began the ceremony. As they exchanged vows, Jasmine couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought her here. The cruelty she had faced at the boutique, the kindness of strangers, and the overwhelming love of her community. It all felt like a distant storm that had cleared, leaving her with a renewed sense of hope and belonging. "Marcus," she said, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes, "you've always believed in me, even when I struggled to believe in myself. Standing here with you today, I feel stronger, braver, and more loved than I ever thought possible. I promise to stand by you, to love you, and to build a future full of light and joy with you." As they exchanged rings and the pastor declared them husband and wife, the church erupted in applause. Marcus pulled Jasmine into a kiss, and the room seemed to glow with the warmth of their love. At the reception, held in Jasmine's grandmother's backyard, the celebration was lively and joyous. Guests danced under strings of twinkling lights, plates of homemade food filled tables, and the air buzzed with laughter and music. As Jasmine and Marcus shared their first dance, Jasmine noticed a group of women standing near the edge of the dance floor. Linda and several of the women who had supported her at the boutique were there, their faces beaming with pride and joy. Jasmine excused herself from Marcus for a moment and walked over to them. "I don't know how to thank you," Jasmine said, her voice thick with emotion. "You all gave me so much more than a dress. You gave me hope." Linda smiled, her eyes soft. "You gave us something too," she said. "Your story reminded us how powerful love and kindness can be. You showed us the strength it takes to rise above hate. This is as much your gift to us as it was ours to you." Jasmine hugged Linda and the other women tightly, feeling the weight of their support like a warm embrace around her heart. As the night wound down, Jasmine and Marcus sat together on a swing under the stars, the distant hum of laughter and music fading into the background. Jasmine's fingers played with the gold bracelet on her wrist, the engraving, "You are enough," catching the light. "Today was perfect," she said softly, leaning her head on Marcus's shoulder. "It was," Marcus agreed. He kissed the top of her head and added, "And it's just the beginning. We've got a lifetime of moments like this ahead of us." Jasmine smiled, her heart brimming with gratitude. She thought of the people who had rallied around her, turning a moment of pain into a story of triumph. Their kindness had reminded her of the goodness in the world, a lesson she vowed to carry with her always. As she looked up at the stars, Jasmine whispered to herself, "I am enough, and I will never let anyone make me feel otherwise again." Jasmine's wedding wasn't just a celebration of love between two people. It was a testament to the power of community, kindness, and resilience. Her story became a beacon of hope for others who had faced similar injustices, reminding them that even in the darkest moments, there is light to be found. And for Jasmine, the lesson was clear. When love and compassion come together, they can overcome even the deepest wounds, leaving behind a legacy of strength and unity that lasts a lifetime.